listen, I did not buy the Philadelphia Eagles coming into the season. I had them as around a 9-8 team and missing the playoffs entirely in the NFC. And the fact of the matter is, we're 2 games of the season. We got another 16 weeks and 15 games to go to really know for certain what this Eagles season is going to end up being. Here's what I do know for a fact, and this has nothing to do, the start of it at least, with the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, in football, it's so much like chess. Playing football is like chess, just like baseball, like other strategic games and sports. A lot of it is being 1 or 2 steps ahead of the opposition. But sometimes it doesn't have to be that complicated. Sometimes, when it comes to strategy, it can be as simple as, okay, I have an advantage. I have the upper hand over my opponent. Okay? What they want me to do. What do I think they want me to do here? I'm going to do the opposite. I'll never forget Game 6 of the 2020 World Series. I'll never forget this. Remember that was the bubble year with the Dodgers and the Rays. I'll never forget this. Remember Blake Snell, back when he was with the Tampa Bay Rays, was just dealing, had only given up 1 hit for Tampa Bay. And he was yanked after giving up, I think, a base hit or 2 or so in the 7th inning, if I remember correctly. And Mookie Betts turns around to Dave Roberts, the manager for the Dodgers, and kind of gives him a little wink, like, oh, we got him, Dave. We've got him. And the Dodgers go on to win that game and win the World Series. Oftentimes, strategy is about what the opposition wants you to do the opposite. Think of it this way. If the Philadelphia Eagles are in a position to win this football game, they at this point in the game lead by a score of 18-15 over the Atlanta Falcons at home, mind you. Atlanta has 0 timeouts. It's a 3rd down and 3. The time in this game is minute 51. Minute 46 seconds to go in the game. Okay? 3rd down and 3. Minute 46. Falcons have no timeout. Philly's down deep into the red zone. And they throw the football. Now, some may say, well, Bryson, come on. It was a perfectly designed play. They had run that play earlier on a previous touchdown drive. It was a play fake, and Jalen threw a great pass to Saquon Barkley, who they initially ruled he scored a touchdown. He didn't. They end up running brotherly shove, I believe, the next play, score a touchdown. Fine. Here's the issue with that. Atlanta is on the ropes. Atlanta's been stacking the box. This whole argument, well, Atlanta was stacking the box, so it was a good play call. No, it wasn't. You've been gashing them all night long. The Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, average 5 yards a carry. And so in a 3rd down and 3 in that situation, the obvious thing to do. Situational football means a lot to me, folks. This is why what Philadelphia did, as much as I hate the Eagles, drove me bananas. If you run the ball on 3rd down, worst case scenario, they're going to stop. Saquon's been killing you all drive long. That's number 1. Number 2, it's worst case scenario. A 4th down and 1, you're going to probably call timeout. You're going to use one of your own timeouts. There's going to be about a minute 1 second left in the game. In that spot, it's going to be a 4th down and 1.5. I have a highly doubt the way that Saquon had been gashing Atlanta's defense that he would have been stopped for a negative gain. Or negative loss, rather. So, with that said, 4th down and 1. What does everybody in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and everybody watching that game on national television thinking? Here comes tush push. They're going to push Jalen for a 1st down, and Philly's going to win it. And that's what they likely would have done and should have done. If they get a 1st down, great, game's over. If they get stopped, okay, then Atlanta's back inside their own 5-yard line, under a minute to go, no timeouts, needing a field goal to go 60 yards for the win. Instead, this shows you how bonkers this is. They decide to throw the ball on 3rd down. Well, Saquon should have caught the ball. Sure, but Saquon should have caught a lot of balls. Folks, I saw the stat. Saquon Barkley, 16 drops in his career since 2021, leads all running backs. So respect to Saquon, and he beat himself up after this game. I cost my team. I let my team down. Listen, that's respect to Saquon, and we understand that, but this is kind of what he's done. He's struggled to catch the football in many occasions. Leads all running backs in drops in the last 3 to 4 seasons, right? So with that in mind, instead, you throw the ball on 3rd down. There's the percentage chance. Sure, it should have been caught by Saquon. Totally agree. It's a great pass by Jalen. Saquon would have caught that, got a 1st down. Should have. But because he dropped it, and because there's the probability, as I just gave you with Saquon's previous numbers, that he could drop the ball, all of a sudden you, A, give Atlanta 43 seconds that they would not have had otherwise, and B, you decide to kick the field goal on that 4th down, which is mind-boggling to me. You compile mistake on top of mistake to the point now, folks. Remember I just said a second ago, if Philadelphia had run the ball on third down, stopped on fourth down, Atlanta's got under a minute to go 60 yards to get into field goal range. In this case, they have to go 70 yards, 10 yards more with 40 more seconds. It is inexcusable by Nick Sirianni. It's a disastrous play call by a guy that I've been very, very critical of. I feel like I've been one of the only folks who have done this, in Kellen Moore. The fact that he decided to go with the play that's going to lead his guy out of bounds, his momentum carrying away from the line of scrimmage, away from the football, momentum carrying out of bounds. The reason that's a problem, it's a one-read play. If Jalen Hurts, if Saquon in any event, say the Falcons read that perfectly. If Saquon Barkley is snuffed out, say there's a linebacker or a safety or somebody on him covering the play, Jalen has to either go down, which could have burned 40 seconds, or, we saw him throw a bad red zone interception against the Packers last week. Who knows what Jalen Hurts has to do? And kudos to Jalen until the last 30 seconds, which I'll get into in just a moment, did not throw the football to the other team, didn't make bad mistakes. He was great with his legs throughout the course of that game. I'm not sure that's something that can continue because, listen, knock on wood for Jalen, but we know he struggled with injuries. And playing the way Jalen plays, you're going to deal with injuries. We get that. They throw the ball, give the ball back to Kirk Cousins against a defense that is objectively terrible in Philadelphia going back to last season. And Atlanta, folks, that looked easy. 6 plays, 70 yards. Again, the aforementioned 70 yards to go get the touchdown. By the way, the touchdown that Kirk Cousins threw to Drake London for what ended up being for the win, 34 seconds were left in the clock. Ladies and gentlemen, that play would have never existed if Philadelphia had run it on the other end, even if they had kicked the field goal, which they shouldn't have done on fourth down, by the way, just given the time and situation for Atlanta. They shouldn't have done that. Gave Atlanta the 40 seconds to get the touchdown. But nonetheless, okay, Atlanta kicks the extra point. They're up 1. How much time's left the game, you may ask? 34 seconds. And Philadelphia has some timeouts in their back pocket. So, it's especially with the new kickoff rule, the touchback taking him out to now, not the 25, but the 30. The fact that Jake Elliott has multiple 60-yard field goals on his resume, it's not all said and done for the Eagles. They can still win this game. Okay, so Jalen throws a pass to Dallas Goedert, completes it for a first down. Now you're at the Atlanta 43-yard line. You have 1 timeout left and 27 seconds. At the 43, what do you have to get for Jake Elliott? To give him a shot, 15 yards. To give him a good shot, 20 to 23 yards. Which, would have been a very makeable field goal given Jake Elliott's history. Kickers this year, by and large, have been great from 50 yards out. It's been unbelievable to watch. The kickers this year have been outstanding. Instead, Jalen, who, again, decision-making had been great all night, and I've questioned Jalen's decision-making, but he reverted back to his old bad traits and threw a pass to a deep ball to the left side into double coverage for what ended up being the game-ending interception. Jalen, it's first down, 27 seconds left, and a timeout at your own 43. You don't need to try a deep shot down the field. If it were like a fourth down or something and nothing's open, you just throw something up, hope there's a pass interference. Okay, fine. We understand that. It was a poor throw by Jalen. It was a poor decision by Jalen. And Philadelphia, this is not credit away from Atlanta. I'll get into the Falcons in a few minutes. Props to them. But this does not happen to go back to what I said. And we're about to show you some stats on the Eagles that are disturbing, is the fact that in that spot, third down, minute 40 plus to go, other team has no timeouts. You run it, worst case scenario. And by the way, again, you run the football because the fact that Saquon has been, and your offensive line, your great offensive line, has been destroying Atlanta's front seven, has been mauling them, be able to create holes for Saquon to get 3 yards, 5 yards, kind of gash that defense, right? Worst case, you got a fourth down with a minute to go, and you're going to go for it. You're probably going to run the push Jalen for a first down. Even if you don't get it, Atlanta has the ball inside their own 5 with no timeouts left to go 10 yards, only 10 yards shorter than what ended up happening, where they had to go 10 more yards further with 40 extra seconds. It is, by the analytics, by clock management, by feel of the game and how it had been progressing to that point, it is inexcusable on every single front. by a Nick Sirianni coach team that, if you go back to last season, has not been good in these situations. All stats provided by StatMuse, all graphics provided by Alfred Parsar Jr. Here you go. When leading in the final 2 minutes, this is going back to week 15 last year, big sample size, record when leading in the final 2 minutes. The Philadelphia Eagles are 2-3. They win 40% of their games since week 15 last year when leading in the final 2 minutes. The rest of the league is 90-11. So for translation, folks, that means that every other team not named the Philadelphia Eagles, if they're up in the final 2 minutes, they've got about an 89% chance to win. Philadelphia has a 40% chance to win. Ladies and gentlemen, that is coaching. It is why I said at the end of last year, when Philadelphia was the worst team in football from week 13 on to the end of the year, on to that playoff loss to Tampa Bay. They were the worst team in football along with the Carolina Panthers. And it's progressed in this year. We can show you the numbers going back to week 13 last year. Worst records in the league. Panthers are the worst. Jaguars are tied with the Panthers. Commanders 1-6. Philadelphia Eagles, including the playoff loss to Tampa, are 2-7 since week 13 of last season. They've won 2 of their last 9 games. They're in a class with the Panthers, with the Jaguars, who have played poorly the last season and a half. Half season rather. Commanders, we know they're rebuilding, and the rebuilding Broncos and Tennessee Titans. It's a poorly coached team. And I mean, I saw after the game, Nick Sirianni didn't even speak to the team after the game. He's like, yeah, Jalen, you take it. And Jalen, respect him. I think Jalen's an excellent leader. I'd like Jalen to be a little bit more vocal, but I don't want to ask somebody to do something that's not them, that's not authentic to them. But when you're in a situation, yes, Jalen cost him at the end, and I ridiculed him for that. But the coach and the offensive coordinator cost his team a victory. The coach has to know my defense is not consistent in the last 2 minutes of games, and the fact we've been crushing them all game at the run game. By the numbers, by the film, by the feel of the game, Philadelphia blew this on every single front, and it's absolutely inexcusable. It is a fireable offense for Nick Sirianni. Full stop. This is not a good coach. It's a really talented roster, but we've seen, Philadelphia Eagles fans, y'all remember, what was it, the Dream Team, I think, in 2011? There was high expectations and all this, and they had a bad season, missed the playoffs. They may have went 7-9 or something. I mean, this team, this season, I think is going to kind of remind y'all a lot of that. Absolutely. I may sound like I'm overblowing this. It is as inexcusable a loss as I've ever seen in my life watching a football game. It's that bad. So, I mean, just disastrous for the Philadelphia Eagles. Disastrous on every front. Let's see what we got. I feel like I was about to blow a gasket there, but I'll get to the comments. I hate bad situational football. It drives me insane. It's one of the reasons I love college football. I love college football. That it's why I prefer the NFL more, because coaches tend to be much better in terms of late game situational, clock management, game management, all of that than college. They just are. That's why most college coaches, with the exception of, Jimmy Johnson, Jim Harbaugh, guys like that, tend to not work in the NFL. And I mean, that's as bad as it gets. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.